Welcome to my tutorial for Ninja Gaiden for the NES. And yeah, I put this playthrough together in about 70 minutes. I used save and load states to minimize the punishment so that I could just focus on the sections and showing the sections being played for the tutorial and the playthrough. Since I had already beaten this game a few years ago legit, I've been going back to some old games and using save and load states at checkpoints to give myself some leniency, because there's really no sense in me going through the full punishments of the game just to show some of these playthroughs. And I'm always gonna, that of games that I already beat, but I'll always explain that in the description if I do that. So this one's not going to be that refined, but it'll definitely show some things that should be very helpful if you haven't beaten this game before. Because keep in mind, I haven't played for a few years, so I was just, coming back, and I only played for like 70 minutes. I was having some issues with trying to climb up walls by jumping back and forth, which is something you usually do in this game. I don't know if it was my controller. The ASCII pad I was using, it does have a stiff D-pad. And last time I played this, I think I was using a Saturn controller on emulation, so that could have been an issue. But anyway, I bring this spinning special move to the first boss, and you can kill him very fast. You can kill all the bosses in the game super fast if you can ever bring that to a boss. And you just jump and hit the slice button while in midair, and as long as you have ammunition for your special weapon that you collect in the stages, you'll be able to use it. It's a hard item to keep though, because it's very easy to grab other weapons on accident, since you're going to be jumping in the air and slicing a lot. So I don't know if there's a way not to do it so that you don't collect items. And you need to know where things are to try to avoid them and try to know where to get those at. Because I only find them a few times in the game, but I know they're available pretty much in every level. But I don't collect everything, so it's easy for me to miss. But I think it'll be worth explaining how the checkpoints work at the end of the game, because a lot of people I know seem to not be able to beat this game because of the very harsh punishments if you fail on the final boss gauntlet with the 3 bosses at the very end of the game. If you lose just 1 life while trying to practice it and learn it, you'll be sent all the way back to 6-1, and you'll have to do all those sections again. So it's a huge pain in the ass. One thing that I didn't realize for a long time was that if you do manage to beat one of the forms of the boss and kill it, and then die on the next form, the form that you beat will be permanently dead. So when you do get back to it, that boss will be gone, and you'll start at the form that you last left off on. So that can be very useful. Just keep in mind that you only get the life refills 1 time on the boss gauntlet with the 3 bosses, meaning you only get your health bar filled the first time you get to each form. After that, whatever health you get into that room with is what you're going to have to fight the boss with. So it's hard to even get there with full health a lot of times. So you definitely have to learn how to fight them. Especially the hardest part of the game for me that really stopped my progress and made it so I wasn't able to beat the game for a long time was the second form of the 3 forms at the end. That second form, is very, very difficult without practicing with save and load states for a while to get the rhythm down. Once you get it down, it's very doable, but you really want to practice that a lot. And I'll try to show. I figured it out again recently, today when I played the game and beat it. But it wasn't real refined, but it'll definitely show the basic pattern that I used. It's also just helpful to know that, if you do kill a form of the boss, it will be permanently dead. Because in the past I thought that every time I got back there I would have to fight all 3 forms again. But, as long as you beat one, it'll be dead. If you kill both of the forms, then you only have to fight the 3rd form, etc. All the games work like that on the NES. All 3 Ninja Gaiden games work like that, with the 3 bosses at the end. They usually have 3 bosses at the end, I believe. But they all, they'll remember when you kill a boss. I only beat the Japanese version of Ninja Gaiden 3 because it has unlimited continues like Part 1 and 2 in the US do. The Japanese version of Part 3. If you beat the US version of Ninja Gaiden 3, you have to use limited continues. So you have to memorize the game a lot more. So I never beat that version. I would have to spend more time and really make sure I don't fuck up, learn the game. So it would be a lot harder. But I found the second Ninja Gaiden game to be much harder than this game as far as the levels and most of the bosses are concerned. Because within about 34 minutes or so, I mean, I had made it to the last bosses. Or something. Actually, no, I'm sorry. I made it to the last level, I believe. Not the last bosses, but... And I was also using save and load states to minimize some of the penalties for death. So I was starting back at sections instead of going all the way back. Because, like I said, there's really no point for me to do that since I've already beaten the game legit. It's not adding to my kill list, and I just wanted to make a video playthrough and a tutorial for this game. Since I'm just revisiting some games that I already beat. Most of the games that I post are games that I've never beaten before, so it's all legitly done without any save state cheating or anything like that. But I'll definitely list that in the description whenever I do that. But yeah, I mean, the main idea with this game is, instead of trying to explain every movement I'm doing, I mean, it's pretty obvious, but the main way to play this game is to try to keep moving, and know which hits to take. Try to just take hits and keep moving. Try to plan it so that when you do get hit, you don't bounce into a pit. Have enough room to where you can bounce back and still keep moving. And sometimes, if you plan it right, you can get hit and get knocked up to higher platforms and things like that sometimes too. But, most of the time you're probably not going to end up doing that. The main danger in this game is not running out of health on the main levels. Aside from the last bosses, it's getting knocked into the pits. The game tries to set you up constantly to get knocked into pits. And the enemies respawn pretty much immediately. So they're constantly respawning. Birds, trying to knock you into pits. This boss is very easy. All you do is, stay in the middle, and you may have to slice a few times if the bullets are coming towards you, but just try to get in a few hits and be aware where the bullets are coming from. It's very easy. I don't even get hit here, and I didn't even practice this. I think I played this well the first time I played it, recently again, so it's very easy. The last two bosses really didn't need to be explained either. I pretty much just went up to them and stabbed the shit out of them, and tried to minimize the boss running into me. There's really no tactics that I use. That's why I didn't bother to explain those. But yeah, same thing in all the levels. It's just going to be finding the rhythm and being able to move through. Each level has a different pace and rhythm. The main thing is to keep moving most of the time. But yeah, it'll definitely take some practice. Anytime you can get this spin weapon, it's very good. But I always find it hard to keep because I always get something else accidentally. But if you can bring it to the bosses, you can pretty much kill the bosses instantly. But luckily in this game, the bosses are all very easy except for the final bosses. Those are the only ones that are actually challenging. And the game is very cheap the way it punishes you for dying, once on the final boss gauntlet. You get sent all the way back to 6-1, which is very cheap. It makes it very hard, if you're playing this on the regular console, it makes it very hard to practice the game. I'd recommend playing it on, emulation and, using save and load states to practice parts heavily, especially the last bosses. The second form especially really requires heavy practice, otherwise you pretty much won't have a chance. You'll most likely just fuck up every time you get to it. You really have to spend some time practicing that middle form. Unless, for some odd reason, you have more trouble on another form. But, whatever trouble you're having, make sure you just practice it and so that you'll be ready when you get there. Because, like I said, one fuck up, and if you get in there without full health, and, if you fuck up once, it's like, that's it. You get sent back. That's what makes this game a lot harder than the second one for me, even though the second one has much harder stages and bosses. I find this one to be much harder because of the major penalty if you fuck up at the end. For me, that makes it much harder. But if you're using an emulator, you can at least save your game since you get unlimited continues, and you can always revisit it on another day or play it a little every day. You're not restricted to the hardware, like leaving the Nintendo on for days or something, you know what I mean? You don't have to worry about that with an emulator. And it's still legit because, the game gives you unlimited continues, so as far as I'm concerned, that's not anything cheap. But yeah, that's how I would suggest playing this game. most projectiles can be destroyed with your sword as you're moving, so, you know, that's another way to keep moving, is to destroy the projectiles and the enemies when you can. There is a way to strike super rapidly in midair, like many stabs in the air, and it can damage the shit out of bosses if you use it right. You have to press down and stab, like down stab, down stab, down stab, while in midair. And do it very quickly, and you'll be able to stab very fast in the air. And you can get multiple hits on an enemy while you're in the air. A lot of speedrunners use that. I tried to use it with rapid fire, but it didn't seem to work too well. It wasn't really damaging the boss that I used it on, so I think it's better if you just do it manually. I don't know if it works with rapid fire. I was just trying it out. It is something that you can experiment with. These bosses are very, very fucking easy. I mean, I got hit once, but I shouldn't have even gotten hit. You have a safe spot pretty much anytime you stand on one of these pillars. I mean, you want to stab so that if they do shoot something at you, you can destroy the shit that they're shooting out. It may, it may be helpful to do that, but I don't know if they even shoot it in the low area. I think it's all in the upper area from what I'm seeing here. Maybe not. I mean, they do shoot, but it's still kind of high the way they're shooting. But, I mean, all you really have to do is stay in these pillars and just stab them. And then retreat back to these little pillars, because these pillars are pretty much a safe spot. I was playing a little sloppy there, but, you know, they always jump up on the pillars whenever they get to them. So there's no reason to take damage in this fight. Very easy. I didn't even practice this. I just remembered it, you know, stay on these pillars. But yeah, this is kind of a rough playthrough, like I said, because I put it together in like 70 minutes using the save and load states to cut down on the the penalties for death. But it wasn't refined at all. But I thought it would be good just to post up. I've been working on a lot of other games, you know, beating new games that I haven't beaten before, like Power Blade 2, Roller Games, which was a game I owned but I never beat. And I've been playing, you know, Donkey Kong Country 2. I've been playing through a lot of games and doing tutorials on games that I haven't beaten before. So I don't want to spend too much time on games that I've already beaten in the past, you know, because I'm always trying to beat new games. But I figured I would just do like a run through this, and, you know, I thought some of these tips would be useful. And I may do the same thing for Ninja Gaiden 2 on the NES, and maybe the third one, the Japanese version, because I would have to, you know, if I play the US version of Ninja Gaiden 3, I would have to really have to learn the game a lot better, since it has limited continues. As you can see, I was having problems trying to climb these walls. I guess I did it okay there, but the controller was giving me a lot of trouble with trying to do that one maneuver. So I do get stuck on some of the walls, and sometimes I just say, fuck it, I don't even try climbing the walls, because I couldn't really do it with that controller most of the time. I don't know why. But yeah, as usual, you're going to keep moving through, you know, these areas. Obviously, you don't want to jump on a ledge when the enemy's on the edge of the ledge, because you'll usually just get knocked off the ledge. I mean, if you time your stab right, you can stab the guy and kill him as you're landing on the ledge. And, you know, you'll probably be doing that a lot in this game. But sometimes it's better just to wait and give yourself a little bit of room just in case. Because the stab doesn't always go through like you would expect it to. Of course, you always have to watch out for bats, because they're always, you know, birds and bats are always trying to knock you into the pit as you're jumping. So a lot of times it's better to wait for them and just jump over them and then make your jump. If you try to go while they're, you know, if you try to kill them and then jump, what usually happens is they respawn immediately and knock you into the pit. So, you know, most of the time it's better to just, you know, you kill them like I did with that bird and then jump over it as it's coming. You know, you get ready to jump over it. If you try to kill it and jump, you'll just die. You'll get knocked in the pit. There was also a jump in that area that I didn't explain, because I was explaining, you know, the thing with the birds. But there's a jump where you have to kind of fall and then catch onto the wall and then jump off. That's a tricky jump, so be aware of that. I mean, you'll see it in the video, but if you're not sure exactly what I was doing, that's what you have to do. It's the trickiest jump in the game, probably. It's not that hard, but, you know, if you don't catch yourself on the wall in time, or if you go too far down, I don't know if you can recover from it. You can also fall in the pit easily, so you got to be careful with that. As usual, there's assholes near the edge trying to knock you into the pit, so just be careful of that. I got stuck on that wall. I wasn't even trying to grab it. A lot of times, you can easily grab walls that you don't want to, and it can fuck you up. Here I recommend just taking the hit at the end, but just make sure you're not near the edge. Just take the hit so that you only get knocked. You don't get knocked back into the hole. Make sure you have enough room to take the hit. Sometimes you got to plan for that, or you can just play better than I did and kill both of those, the bird and the running guy. But you really don't need to. Again, try to get up here quickly. And this will take you to the boss. The boss is pretty much going to be a fuckfest. All you do with the boss is trade hits with him, pretty much. I cut it real close here, but that's all I ever really do with this guy is just trade hits. So just try to just keep hitting him and stab the shit out of him. Try not to let his body touch you like I did, because that drained most of my... a huge chunk of my health. Take the hits from the projectiles if you can, but don't let his body hit you. I think his body does a lot more damage if his body touches you. So, don't run into him like I did. So yeah, now you're on the final stage, but this is the hardest level. It's got some very tough segments with a lot of pits. So, you may need to make some save and load states and practice some of those sections to make sure you have a decent chance of getting them down. It takes a lot of practice to be able to get them consistently, but at least try to give yourself, so you know what to expect when you get there. It'll cut down on all the time you have to spend replaying all the areas you already beat, since, you will get sent back. The main issue is you want to learn those 3 bosses at the end, because if you die on them, you get heavily penalized. You'll get sent all the way back here if you die on the bosses, so it's a far way back. After you die enough times on it, you'll probably get used to doing all these sections. I hadn't played this game in a while, so I wasn't really too fluid at this game at all, but like I said, it's kind of rough, but should give you a good general idea. The main thing to learn will be from the middle form, because that's the hardest part of the game, for me anyway. And you'll see a pattern with that, and I'll try to explain what I'm doing. And also, I think it's just useful to know that the bosses stay dead permanently, and how that works with, how you'll have like no health if you get to the bosses with no health the second time, you won't get your health replenished. The first time it replenishes your health bar in each form, which is nice, but after that, there's no more gifts. So you get back there with like no health, you'll just die and have to be sent back to 6-1 again. It doesn't even let you use your lives. If you get to it with, 2 or 3 lives, you can't even use those on the boss. You just get sent back. So yeah, it's very unforgiving. It's pretty much just the developers just being assholes, for no good reason. Because there's really no reason to make it that punishing. Just a waste of your time. A lot of people will, give up because of that, because they don't want to keep replaying, from 6-1 again and again. Which is understandable. It can test your patience. But it's very doable if you put the time in and just put some heavy practice in on all 3 bosses. That way when you get to them, you'll at least have an idea what you need to do. You'll most likely fail the first time you get to the 3 bosses, so make a save state right at the bosses. That way, after you die, instead of just, going back to all the stages again and trying again, like the game wants you to do, just sit there and practice for, for a long time. Maybe practice for an hour or more on all the bosses. However long it takes for you to get comfortable with it, just keep practicing. And after watching, my playthrough and other playthroughs online, and, where I'm going to break it down more, because I haven't really seen too many tutorials on the game. I don't know if I've seen any, but I think I saw one for a speed run, but speed runs are a lot harder to pull off. So this should help anyone who's just trying to beat the game. I think the bosses are going to be the main problem that most people that prevented most players from beating the game. So yeah, I figured I'd focus on that for the tutorial. And these parts, as you can see, are starting to get a lot more difficult by this point. There's a very hard part coming up shortly. That's a big pain in the ass. Here, if you get that hourglass, it stops everything. So, you'll get some time to move through. Here I get stuck on this. It's a pain in the ass getting stuck on walls a lot of times. And with this controller, I wasn't able to get off of them fast. So I kept getting stuck to the walls and taking hits, which was very fucking annoying. And this is the last part. You get some health here. And, yeah, after you climb up here, there's going to be another health drop, I believe. See this kit watch, see this candle that when I drop down, see that I missed the candle? I think that's the health phase. And that'll, I know it's in here somewhere. Yeah, I think it's the one where you're falling down, yeah. You want to get that probably because you're going to need the health most likely at this point. Now, the first time you will get the health refilled for free, as I said, but when getting back here again, keep in mind where those health vases are located. This form's really not hard. I didn't practice it too much on this playthrough, so it was kind of sloppy, but as long as you go up on the wall, you won't take too much damage. Just focus on slicing that orb in the middle. And then once you kill this form, it'll never come back again. So after you get back here again, you won't have to worry about it respawning or anything. Just make sure you can play kind of sloppy. It's not a hard form or anything. I usually get hit when I'm trying to get off the wall for some reason, but I'm sure there's ways not to take damage, but you really don't need to master it. The second form is the one that you really have to fucking master, because this is where it gets really fucking hard. So, I'll try to explain this. You basically want to try to, lure out the fireballs in the middle, and then start running back when you can, and jump up on one of the pedestals and then stab the boss, and just keep repeating it. You'll see when I get in a rhythm. When you can, you also want to kind of stay between the fireballs when it's possible. You kind of have to just react to that in the moment, because they switch up a lot. See, here I ended up doing some pretty crazy dodging. But I was starting to get in a rhythm of it. I didn't practice it enough to play it really, really well, but I think it was good enough to give a general idea. You're going to have to practice this a lot, so spend a lot of time just practicing with save and load state. Otherwise you're just going to get killed every time you get here. It'll be very, very hard. Definitely not an easy boss. But you can get in a rhythm with it, as you'll see. Sometimes I get in that, that rhythm with it. Initially, you're probably going to be getting hit every time the fireballs come out. It's very hard when you first get to it. But with practice, you can definitely get it into a rhythm. Now, this third form, it's still kind of tricky, but it's not nearly as hard as the second form. First, you're going to chop off this head. And you always have to get hit when the head comes off. I don't think there's any way to avoid it. So you have to take at least one hit. But, yeah, you destroy the tail, and then just start slicing at this heart. Try to dodge those things that are coming out if you can, but it's a pain in the ass to dodge them all. I mean, it is possible, but, you have to put in more practice if you want to do a flawless fight on these bosses. But yeah, that's pretty much it. Mainly it's going to be that second form that's probably going to give you the most trouble. So, try to lure the fireballs out and then run back and jump up on the pedestal, stab the boss, run back to the middle to lure the fireballs out, then run back to the pedestal again, stab the boss, drop down, run to the middle, lure the fireballs out, run back to the left on the pedestal. You can also do it on the right side as well, but I usually stick to the left side when I was playing. But, you're just going to have to practice that and get the timing, get in a rhythm. At first, I remember it took me a while, and I wasn't getting a feel for it for a long time. And then, suddenly it just started to come to me, and I was getting the muscle memory with it and be able to do it more and more consistently. Of course, I wasn't doing it very well in this run through, because like I said, I only spent about 70 minutes on this playthrough. And I did use save and load states to kind of skip the punishments so I wouldn't get sent all the way back to the levels, So I did speed the process up. But hopefully you'll find that helpful. And if you have any other questions, let me know. Also, if you can somehow bring that spinning mid-air move to the bosses, you can destroy like all 3 bosses extremely quickly, but it's more of a speedrunner technique. It's hard to get it in, get it all the way to the boss without picking something else up and surviving. But thanks for watching.